short, sharp session today on capital grants. If you can click onto the next slide, James. Quick introduction to those of us on the call. So hello everyone, I'm Iona and I've got James and Grant who will be presenting alongside me today. They'll introduce themselves as we go along, and I've got the lovely Lara helping in the background as well. We will be recording the session so that we can share it more widely after. And Lara, I think we've got the subtitles on as well. If not, this is your prompt to put it on for me, please. So what are we covering today? I'll give a brief introduction to JustFarm for those of you who are not familiar with us, and then we'll get into the meat of it. So capital grants meant to be opening end of this month. So we'll talk about what's covered, and then Grant will showcase us a live demo of how you can look to apply for capital grants or plan your capital grants within the JustFarm platform. And as always, we'll try and leave time for any Q&A at the end. Please do ask your questions as you go along as well. I think we've got the Q&A function there. But just a very high level overview as to us at JustFarm. So we are all about helping make farmers' day-to-day working lives easier. And JustFarm is the leading platform for managing elm. There's a whole host. For those of you who haven't joined or looked at the platform, please do go on. It's free to create an account, upload your agreements, and just start playing. We're building out the functionality all the time, but just a very high level snapshot as to what you can do in there. You can manage your current agreements and the ongoing compliance. You can apply for SFI 2026. So appreciate window one. We've only got less than 25% left. So if you're in window one, this is your cue to apply today, get that out, with window two opening in September. Last week, we launched our capital grants planner. That's why we're here. We want to showcase that to you today. But this is all about being able to collaborate with your wider team, with your agent, all in one platform. And fundamentally, we're looking to help you save time, protect your income, and secure your farm's future. This is, I should give a shout out to James's family as well, the sixth generation farming family. So this is at the very heart of kind of why we're here, why we exist. And I'm very proud to kind of showcase the numbers we've got with you on the screen. Since our launch late last year, we've now got over 2,100 farmers with us. We help manage over 1.2 million acres of England farmland and over 200 million of elms agreements. And thank you, shout out to our pro user there, Andrew. So if you're bringing in money from government schemes, using JustFarm is a must. So great to have you here with us today. And James, I'm going to hand over to you to get into the meat of it. Tell me about capital grants 2020.
Yes, great. So I get the really boring bit. Yeah, so capital grants opening soon. I'm sure many of you are familiar with this from previous years. So it's running in a very similar way to how it did previously, but with a couple of little changes here and there, like these things do. The budget for this year, I'm pleased to say, a bit of good news for once in the industry. The budget's actually increased. It's £225 million is on offer this year, which is really good news. Eligibility criteria, I think this has stayed the same as previously. So you can have one capital grant application per SBI number per year. So you've got kind of one shot at it in this window. And the opening is expected on the 30th of July. I don't know why DEFRA and the RPA use language like this rather than just confirming the date out of the gate. But if everything goes to plan, by the end of this month, you'll be able to start applying. Within this year's capital grant offer, there are certain spending caps. It's worthwhile noting that I've not seen anywhere anything written about an overall cap on the amount you can apply for. But within each of these buckets, there are spending caps. So within boundaries, trees and orchards, you can claim for a maximum of £35,000 worth of those types of items. So that is hedgerow planting, fencing, fruit trees, etc. And the different categories have different caps allocated to them. So it's worthwhile bearing in mind that as you're planning things out, to keep an eye on those cap values. But if you were so inclined, there's nothing stopping you maxing out all of those caps, going in for well over £110,000 worth of grant if you can, and if you're keen to do it. How you apply? So again, I think this is the same as previous years. So the first thing to look for is to complete any previous claims. If you already have some active claims from previous year capital grant programs, they will keep that parcel of land that they're active on kind of out of bounds for this claim window. So you want to complete any claims on the parcels across your land that you can before you start applying, because that will reactivate those parcels. You'll be able to apply for them, apply for actions on those parcels again. Next, once you've done that, apply through the RPA portal. Rather confusingly, you apply under the Countryside Stewardship applications. There is no specific capital grant application on there. So do it through Countryside Stewardships. And then after you've applied, you're required to send through some supporting evidence to support your application. That can be things such as the application maps, which Grant will go through in a minute, any land ownership control forms that you might need if you're not fully in control of the land. An interesting one here, if your land is, or if your application is worth more than £50,000, you're also going to need a letter from your accountant to confirm you've got the funds available to deliver the items. And some of the actions, it's a bit case by case, but some of the actions require additional pieces of documentation or evidence. For example, if it's a catchment sensitive action, you may need CFS support or evidence of that that you need to send in. Any of that supporting evidence that's required needs to be sent to the RPA within 10 working days of your application being submitted. So you've got a bit of time, but it's well worth getting as much of that prepared in advance as you can. And finally, on the bottom there, it's worth noting that last year, although the budget was a little lower, last year capital grant window was open for just 5 weeks. So when it opens on the 30th of July, get in there quickly, because chances are by the middle of August, it'll all be gone and the window will close. That's it for my part. So I'm going to hand over to Grant now. He's going to show you how you would do any and all of that in the JustFarm platform.
Thank you very much, James and Iona. Okay, let me share my screen here. Okay, so if you haven't already, the first step is to create a free JustFarm account. So as I say, it's free to get started. You can actually get to the point where you're playing around with the Capital Grants Planner for free as well. So it will block you after a certain point, but if you just want to get a feel for if this is the right tool for you for what you're trying to do and get your capital grants application in, please do just create an account and try it out first. So when you do create an account, it's really easy to add your farm. You can see I've got this capital grants webinar farm that I've added here, and all I did to get this land data here is put in my SBI number for this farm. So that's all you need to create your farm. Create a JustFarm account and put in your SBI number, and then we'll be able to map out your farm. You can click around on it and see information about your fields and stuff there. One of the other things you can do before you get into the Capital Grants Planner is upload any existing agreements you have, whether they're capital grants agreements you already have from the past, SFI or Countryside Stewardship agreements. So to do that, you just come to the agreements option here, and then you can drag and drop the actual agreement PDF document that you have, and drag and drop it in and upload it, and our system will automatically pull out the information from that PDF document and map it out onto your farm here. So if that document is going to tell us what capital items do you already have, what SFI actions, what Countryside Stewardship mid-tier options do you have, and then it'll map those out onto your farm automatically, knowing which parcel each is going on and how much coverage area and what the start and end dates are, which then will have that information. So when we go into the Capital Grants Planner, or even the SFI planner, we have a planner for SFI 26 as well, then we can take that existing information into account, and that helps you plan. So for an average farm, it'll take this system about 20 seconds to do it. He said very bravely in the middle of a live demo webinar, but it should just be finishing up by now. There we go. It's giving us a little note that there's rotational actions in this SFI agreement I've uploaded, and to make sure those are in the right place. But you'll notice now that the map has changed color, or you might have noticed, the eagle-eyed among you will have noticed that the map has changed color. If we click back on any of the fields, we can now see there's information from the agreement of that scheme that's been uploaded as well. And again, that can help you when you're planning for your capital grants or when you're planning SFI. But we're here to talk about planning capital grants, so let's get to the nitty-gritty of it. Over here on the left, you'll see the plan section, and then there's the capital grants option. So if we click on that, that's how we get into the capital grants planner. Before we get started, I'll go through this quite quickly. You can have a look at this yourself for free, and you can read every single word here. But essentially what we're doing is just getting you a bit up to speed on some of the information that James just presented there actually about the plan, like the payment caps for each of the groups, a little bit of information about the tool. You know, this tool is designed to help you identify the items you might want to go for and actually map out where you're going to put them and calculate how much you're going to get paid, and then produce the documents you need to apply. But it really is still on you to think, is this something I actually want to do? And read through the official guidelines for each of the items and make sure you're eligible to do them and it's something you actually want to undertake on the farm. We check that you've uploaded any existing agreements that you might want to have, and I'll say, okay, all of my agreements are uploaded. We check that your land data is up to date. You know, this is important in general for managing applications through the RPA. So one of the biggest problems they have is that the details they have for your farm on their system might not be what you have on the ground right now. So please go check that the data they have about your farm is up to date, because that can really get in the way of some applications. And then finally, just letting you know at the end here, you know, there's certain items in here that have kind of even more detailed responsibilities. Like some, for example, I think 24 of the 80 items in the capital grants scheme at the moment require you to get endorsement from catchment sensitive farming, as James mentioned earlier. We will flag those things up to let you know more about them. The system's designed to kind of highlight those things, but just reminding you here that best thing to do is just read the actual guidelines for each of the items you're going to go for and just find out what do I have to do to get this. When you've gone through that quick checklist, it's time to create a plan. So you can create as many draft plans as you want as well. If you want to try different things, we don't restrict you to just making one plan. You could make 10, 20, 100. Most people probably try just one or two though. But when you want to create a plan, you just give it a name. I'll just call this one Plan A and create. So that's the first thing you do. Just give your plan a name. Our system is then just making sure it's got the latest information from the RPA, all the data we can get from the Rural Payments Agency about your land and your farm. And we check other data sources as well for things like, for example, crop data, if we can get it. We just want to make sure we understand as much as we can about your farm so that we can highlight certain things in the planner. So it should take just a few more seconds, and then once it's done that thinking, it only ever does it up front, so it doesn't have to do it again. Once you're in the planner, you can move quite quickly. It'll give you a little message when it's done, and then you can click in. So we're now in the capital grants planner, and it's a 3-step process, so it's fairly straightforward. The first step is we're going to choose which capital grants, which items we're interested in. The second step, we're going to put them on a map of the farm. And then the third step is we're going to get a summary, and we're going to get those documents you can download to go away and actually apply for your plan. So that's 1, 2, 3. So we're at step 1, which is which of these 80 capital items that are available in this window that's going to open up are ones I would actually want to apply for. So we've got them all here. We've grouped them by their different kind of categories that James highlighted earlier with different payment caps. So you can have a look through and you can see if there's something you might be interested in. Like, oh, okay, I could get paid £489.90 per gate if I want to put some wooden field gates in. Okay. Now that's the high level information. Okay, what is this? What's the code? What's the title? And how much am I going to get paid? But obviously there's a lot more detail than that you want to check. So for anyone that you might think, okay, I'm interested in that, just click on it. And on the right panel here, we'll then present you with the official information. So the more information about what is this, what's the official guidance, how much am I going to get paid, why does it benefit the environment, you know, why do you think it's a good idea to do this, where can I do this, how am in this case the specific information for this item. So how should this wooden gate be constructed? What are the specifics that they're asking me to follow here? And importantly, what evidence must I keep? So when you're doing capital grants, it's important that you keep evidence of what you're about to do, what you are doing, and what you have done, so that you can then show that back to the RPA and make sure they reimburse you for that money. So that's all in here. If you do want to go and see this page and this information on the actual government website, we always link out to it as well. You can click on that and you're out into the actual government website for that item. So that's always there as well. So that's what you do. Look through this list, find what you want, and again, click on any one and you can see more details about it. If you do decide then, okay, I've found one here, I actually think this is one I'd love to at least have a think about planning for, you can just add it to your plan. So in this case, we'll say, all right, we're interested in wooden field gates, add to plan. And you'll see on the right-hand side here then, we're basically making a short list of the items you're interested in that we're going to take forward to the next step, which is mapping them out on your farm. So this first step, again, just looking through the items, seeing what you might like. There's a search bar up here. So if there's certain things you're thinking about, like, oh, I wonder if I can get paid for this, you can search for it. So I'll just say like fencing, for example, and then it will bring up all of the items that mention fencing. So here's the most popular one, for example, FG1, just straight up fencing. Again, you can click on it, find out more of those details. And if you are interested in what you see, again, just add it to your plan. And now you've got the wooden field gate and the fencing in here in the list. And that's the idea. You just go through identifying the items you want and plotting them on the map. So I'm going to, maybe I want some fruit trees as well. I just want 3 in here that have slightly different drawing tools so I can show you how the system works. So there we go. We're moving forward with fencing, wooden field gates, and planting fruit trees in this example. So when you have all the items that you're interested in, the next step is you can go place the items on the map. So this is step 2. Now you can move back and forward between these steps. If you decide you've plotted something out and you have a thought and you're like, well, can I get this? Can I add that there? You can always move back and forth. You don't have to do everything in step 1 and then move on to step 2. So now we're into step 2 though, which is the plotting on the map. So if we now see again, we've got that virtual version of our farm here. If we click on any of the fields, the system will show us the items we've chosen on the right here from our shortlist, and we can now choose which ones we want to plot specifically on this field in place. So let's just say, right, we know this is this boundary up here on this field is where we're going to do our fencing. Then I'm just going to click this add button, and then you get the option to draw on the map. So I'll just say this whole boundary. And for things like boundaries and stuff, our tool tries to help you out, it'll snap to the boundary and stuff just to help you draw quickly. I'm going very quickly here. You can be more detailed if you want, but for example, it's quite quick to just draw that boundary, and then it'll tell you the length of that boundary as well. So it's saying here, okay, you've drawn 159 meters. Do you want to use that number? And we can use that. If you know exactly, you've been out there with a meter wheel, or if you have some other way where you've measured that boundary, you know it's 158 meters, you can always change it here manually as well. But the system, as you draw, will measure it out. And it'll estimate the payment you're going to get. So it's taken how much were you going to get paid per meter, and how many meters have you drawn, and it's giving you that estimated payment calculation. When you're happy, you just click add to plan, and it'll show you on the map there. It's doing 2 things. 1, it's showing you the item you've just added on the map. And 2, up at the top, it's totaling up for this whole plan, the estimated payment. So as we add other items, you're going to see this number change as well. So speaking of which, say we think, okay, we do want to add other items, but they're not in this field. We're actually going to add, I've got that wooden field gate that I want to put in, and it's down here between these 2 fields. So I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to select my wooden field gate. In this case, instead of a line, we're dropping a pin. So we can zoom in and be like, all right, it was actually, yeah, it's between these 2 trees. I'm putting my wooden field gate in there. That's great. And actually, yeah, there was another one over here that I want to put in. So it'll just count the number of pins you're adding in place, and then again, estimate the payment that you're going to get given for those gates. Add them to your plan. They'll appear on the map, and the total gets updated. And that's really all you're doing. So you're just going around, adding things in place, seeing the calculations appear and seeing where they actually are on the map. And I'll just do one final piece here. The other one I chose in this case was the planting fruit trees. So we've mostly got 3 drawing tools. One is you're going to be drawing on a boundary. The other is you're placing things with a point in place. There's going to be like one thing here, one thing there. And then the third is drawing an area. But I'm going to show you this area drawing tool is something just a little bit more advanced to help you move quickly for certain items. So I'm going to add, it's giving me the option. What I'm doing here is I'm planting fruit trees. So it's giving me the option to just drop a pin for each individual tree. But we know in a lot of cases when you're planning tree planting, you're not exactly thinking about it as we're doing one tree here, one tree there, one tree there. You're thinking, I'm putting trees in this area. They're going to be this much, this density, this space apart. So if you want to do it from area, you can select the area option and just draw out, okay, it's this part of this field that we're putting in. It'll calculate the area for you, 4,902 square meters in this case. You can use that, and then you can set the tree density yourself. So 4 meter, or whatever you want to set it at between the trees. It'll then estimate the number of trees in that area given that density. So it's just a quick way of being able to get to that number. And you can add these. And again, it's totaling up the number there, and it's adding it to the map visually to show you this is where you're doing your trees. So there we've got our fencing on this boundary. We've got 2 wooden gates here, and we've got our trees we're planting down here. And you'll notice there was one other thing that was happening in here while we were doing that, which is down here in the bottom right, we're calculating those funding caps that James referenced earlier for you. So we can see here I've used almost 10K out of the 35K for boundaries. I've used 1K out of the 25K for water quality items, and I've not used anything in other buckets. So we'll be tracking that as you go to try and help you just make sure you're not approaching the limit on any of those, and we'll give you a warning if you do approach the limit. One other thing I just want to point out here while it's there is we will try and let you know about, as I said, there's things where you might need, for example, catchment sensitive farming endorsement. If you do choose one of those items, we'll let you know, hey, this is one of the ones where you need catchment sensitive farming endorsement. So wherever we can pull out that information from the guidance and just give you a quick notification about it, we'll try and do it. For example, you might have seen when I clicked on the wooden field gate information, right up at the top there, this little icon was telling me that in the case of this item, approval might be needed if the work affects a shrine site or another designated historic site. So check your heifer before planning the work. So we can unfurl that as well. And it will just give us more data here about, more information here about what it's pulled out from the guidance. It's saying, we know for this item that if you're trying to put this somewhere where there's a historic or archaeological feature, then you might have to get approval. So that the information is always in here, but we're trying to surface it for you as you choose the certain things you want to choose. So you're not having to read through every single one of these as you go through all of the items to check for that stuff. Okay, so we've looked through the list of items, we've identified the ones we're interested in, and we've now chosen those and we've plotted them on the map. What do we do next? What do we get out in the end? So the third and final step is the review step. So once we're happy, we've plotted everything out we want, we can come to review. And we get a couple of things in this step that are really helpful. So one is it gives us our summary. So what items have we chosen and what's the total quantity and what are our total payments? Also the detail breakdown, specifically which parcels am I putting those items on and what quantity in each parcel. That's where you're going to go and take to apply on the RPA portal. As James said, go and look for that Countryside Stewardship section in your RPA portal. When the window's open, that's where you're going to apply, and you're going to put this information in there. That's what this is for. You can export this data if you want to play around with it in a spreadsheet. And then finally, we generate a couple of documents for you that are very important. So if you press this generate application map button, These are, I'm just going to go ahead and start this off while I explain what they are. So we're going to get two things here. The most important here is probably the actual maps that you're going to have to submit to the Rural Payments Agency as part of evidence. It's mandatory that you send them via post or email maps showing the planned capital works. And they have very specific format requests for those maps. They say things like they have to be in black ink, marking out where things are. You have to have a 6-digit OS sheet reference number at the bottom left of the map. You have to have the map page number in the top right. You have to have the SFI number in the top right. You have to have the scale of the map. They're really, really specific with the requirements. You can read in the applicant's guide in Annex 3 these requirements. But what we've done is the heavy lifting for you. We're making sure that whatever you've plotted out there, we're giving you the map in that format that you can then just email to the RPA. It takes a few seconds now, it's ready. It'll let you know when it's done. And I'll show you those maps here. There they are. So for each of the items on this field, it gives you the parcel ID, where those wooden fuel gates were. As I said, the grid reference down at the bottom right, all the other information about the farm up in the top right and the map. And there they are, ready to go, ready to be sent off. No work to have to do on your side on that. And the other thing that's in here is just a document that's a summary of the whole plan. I know we have a few agents on here, and we have a few agents also use this platform as well as individual farms. And this document can be great for if you've been putting together a plan for someone, especially, just it puts it all together for you in a nice bundle that you can hand off. So you've got a cover page telling you about the agreement. Then you've got all those maps that we saw a second ago. We've got the payment summary that we saw a second ago. And we've got the detailed breakdown of where everything is and how much quantity, how much area, how much length, how many units. And then finally, down at the bottom, you've got the individual items guidance. So what do I have to do for each of these? What evidence do I need to collect? What restrictions should I know about for each of these items that I'm putting on the farm? And that's all in there. So yeah, that's it. That's the 1, 2, 3. Choose the items you want, add them to the map, produce the documents you need, and you're ready to apply.
Thank you very much for that, Grant. I think James is just going to bring back up